shit, go. Intro, real quick. I need an intro, quick.
An intro? Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Cabbage is, and I wasn't prepared for this. Right. But, I'm Zero. He's Cabbage. Hey.
No. See, from the last podcast, remember, you now control the channel.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I forgot.
You changed the hierarchy of the channel.
That's right. The hierarchy of power. It's changed. I'm in charge. What we're gonna do is only talk about why The Last of Us 1 is really overrated. Yeah.
But anyways, we're back. I think what I might plan on doing for my intro is that I'm gonna have it like where it's like the Gumball episode where Gumball and Darwin are like in the TV and Gumball like acts like they're in a music video. It's like a music video. We are in a music video. That's gonna be my whole intro. Anyway.
I like it.
Anyways, we're back. This is gonna be a big Spider-Man thing today, because there's a lot of Spider-Man stuff going on right now.
I'm ready. I actually, we're gonna be. I forgot. We're gonna be talking about the Tom Holland deal, right?
Yeah, we're also gonna be talking about that. I thought that was implied after Across Spider-Verse stuff, but yeah, go ahead.
I gotta ask, may I plug my own screenplay in this? I just want to get it out there.
Yeah, you know what? Plug your screenplay and give me the link. Give me the link, and I'll just put it in the description.
The link to the Reddit post. Let's go.
Yeah, we're gonna trick news. We're gonna trick news websites into thinking that's real.
Dude. I did that. I don't even claim credit for like tricking people that it's real. It was just a report on like rumors and seeing people's reactions, and I somehow ended up in that in that article. I was just as confused as everyone else. But all right, what are we hitting first?
Alright, so I think let's go start off with the Across Spider-Verse stuff, because that's like the thing that's like most fresh in my mind that I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
So like the things that got rumored were not only were Tom Holland and PS4 Spider-Man showing up, apparently also Josh Keaton's Spider-Man from Spectacular Spider-Man. You may not have heard about it. It is also supposed to be rumored to be in that movie.
When it was revealed, or at least when it was first rumored that like we were going to be getting more Spider-Men and going through, I've said this before, that if I see or hear Josh Keaton's voice just like in anything, I don't care if he's playing Spectacular Spider-Man again, he's just the best voice for Spider-Man. Like, I hear him in every Spider-Man thing related. I love the others. I'm not going to say any of the others are bad, because they're great. All right? Except for the one that he touched kids or whatever, or he texted kids. I forget. But I love Josh.
There was a marginal difference between saying touched kids and texted kids.
I forget what it was, but it was really sus. It was really sus.
You need to elaborate.
Yeah, I will admit to whatever was wrong. We'll fact check it. But anyway, if I hear Josh in there, I am going to be that like obnoxious person in the movie theater where you're like, "Can you shut up? You're like, I want to watch the movie." I'm going to be that obnoxious person that people are going to be asking to shut up, because I'd be way too hyped to see Josh.
You know what? That's fair enough. I like Josh Keaton is so fresh in my memory because this was the first time I recently like watched Spectacular this year, so it's kind of like the same thing with what's it called, Daredevil, where like seeing these like legendary actors like or voice actors like reappear is still fresh in my mind, so I can be even more excited about it, because I didn't like miss them much.
Yeah, right? Like, you just went from banger to banger, pretty much.
Exactly. No, but I'm really excited to see Josh Keaton. I'm also really surprised that PS4's Spider-Man was getting in it. Like, he hasn't really gotten much rep outside of his own game.
Well, so I'm not too surprised because he did appear in Spider-Geddon, which was the most, or at least before, it was the most recent Spider-Verse crossover before the newest one that's happening right now with Edge of Spider-Verse, which we're not going to get into because that's a whole other topic. But he appeared in the comics there. He had his own comics, like some own tie-in comics. For like the DLC, for the DLC's stuff, those were fun. And so I'm ready to see him again. I think it'd be really hype. I don't know if they would give us another version of Miles in there.
I mean,
because...
I don't know. They might. It might be
could,
it might be a Crisis on Infinite Earth thing where he like appears like a little cameo.
Well, so I think it would work just purely based off the fact that they're different voice actors and they have different suits. So like they're gonna look different regardless. Like it's like if PS4 Spider-Man shows up and then Spectacular Spider-Man are there. They're technically the same person because they're a Peter Parker, but they're still different characters and they have different voice actors and different suits. So like you'll still be able to differentiate them easily.
Right. But here's a real question. Which face is Peter Parker going to have?
Oh God, no!
Which face?
No.
I'm gonna start it because I saw earlier today about someone tweeting about giving him the old PS4 face. But which face would you want to see?
You know what I want to see? I want to see Insomniac just go, screw it, you guys don't deserve nice things, and give him a brand new face. Like, they did the face change for the remaster. Everyone got pissy, even though it's, like, it is an improvement. Like, the model is an improvement.
The model is, like, I look back at cutscenes, because I never actually played the original PS4 with the face, but I played only with the remastered, but I look back at cutscenes, and the model looks, like, so unpolished compared to the one in the PS5 version.
Right? Like, I played through the original on PS4 with the old face, and then I saw the face got changed, and I kid you not, my reaction was just, okay. And that was it. Like, I did not care in the slightest, because I was like, it looks better. I see this as an absolute win.
What? You didn't have an over the top opinion about a change in a comic book thing?
Like, my only thing is, like, I would just prefer if he got a different cut. Like, hair, I'm not gonna lie, his haircut, they kind of did him a little dirty. So just,
I like the haircut. I like the haircut a lot. The haircut in the
old one or the new one?
The old one. Like, it looks like he actually looks like this an older Peter.
Yeah, and like that, I'll give as like, okay, yeah, he looks young, and I think it's because of the hair. Like, that's really it.
Yeah, I think that's probably why people are pissy is because of the hair. That might just be it.
Which, on the other side, too, is like, oh, he looks young. I'm like, yeah, there's people my age that are 22, and I've met 24-year-olds that look younger than me.
Ewan McGregor is 50 years old.
Yeah, right? Like,
the man's in his 50s, and people were complaining about it.
I'm like, there's people that are super, that are old, and they don't look their age. Like, dude, I didn't know Samuel L. Jackson was, like, in his late 70s or 80s, like, until a few years ago, because I swear, this man still looks like he's 40.
Exactly.
Like,
it's almost like people take care of their faces.
Yeah, which...
It's crazy.
It's just, I don't think a Spider-Man, like, needs to look ridiculously old for me to buy that they've been around for a while. Like, I could tell that he's been around as Spider-Man for 8 years because he has stuff to track that he's been around for 8 years, and he plays like it.
Yeah.
So, it's just whack. The face is whack.
The face whack.
Insomniac, just light fire and give us a new one. Right?
Just give us a third one. But, I think, there's also Tom Holland. I didn't expect Tom Holland's Peter show up across the Spider-Verse at all.
wasn't the post like about Across and Beyond the Spider-Verse?
Well, Across and Beyond. I forgot there's two parts, but
so
I know
what
that
I think is that it's just like Andrew and Tom will show, because Andrew was part of that. I think they'll show up in. I think so. I think he was part of that rumor.
Huh. I don't remember.
I think that they'll show up in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Like
yeah,
that's the most likely.
That would make sense.
Because I think what they'll do is keep, at least for the most part, they'll keep the animated spiders together. So like Spectacular and PS4, they'll be together. I think PS4 is the one that can like switch over the most because of just that style of game goes for photorealism, and they changed the model to better match Yuri Lowenthal's face. So like it would make sense if he shows up in live action, it would be Yuri Lowenthal portraying the character.
Right.
Which I'd be down for. Dude, you know how happy I would be actually if I saw Josh Keaton in live action as Spider-Man?
Oh my god,
I know he'd be like,
that'd be great.
I know he'd be like, wait, this character is way too old, but I'm like,
he look like,
okay. I don't care.
If anything,
like,
Josh Keaton looks like he'd be a live action Peter B. Parker. He may not have the voice, but he looks like it.
A little bit, yeah. Like it's as much as like I think
like
Greg Johnson could do Peter B. Parker live action, but I also wouldn't be upset if Josh Keaton did.
Right, and I think the thing that like made me think about it was when he did the voiceover for Gwen's death, and he was like wearing the jacket.
God, dude.
And he was wearing the jacket. First of all, voice acting was phenomenal. I still love Josh Keaton, but like he was like wearing the jacket and everything. I'm like, huh, he could be Peter B. Parker.
Like I woke up that morning too. That was the first thing I saw to
start my day. That's
and
even better.
Literally, it was like simultaneously the best and worst thing to see at the start of my day. And I saw someone else like comment on the post of like, oh man, if only we got to see this in like the movies. And I commented underneath. I was like, look, first off, that I don't want to lose Spectacular Spider-Man Gwen because I actually like her as opposed to the comic version.
Yeah.
Where she's just blah and nothing, and I don't care about her. And then I don't want to see Spectacular Gwen die.
Yeah.
But also, I absolutely would watch it because I want more Spectacular Spider-Man.
Give us more Spectacular Disney. You already put it the first season on Disney Plus.
Well, they put both seasons. I don't know why they put it as as like the first season when they just dropped the entire series.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, that's weird, but
it's like we'll go with it.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited for Across the Spider-Verse. Like I think like a lot of cameos for the other Spider-Verse could definitely work. But like there's like the biggest thing with Across and Beyond that has really got me like on my nose a little. Not with Spider-Verse itself, but with No Way Home, because thing about it is they're introducing so many Spider-Man into these two movies. It probably a lot of Spider-Man in just the first movie, right? But the problem lies with the fact that everybody is over the fucking moon with it, but shits on No Way Home for doing less of the same thing.
Yeah, which it's the exact same. Like the thing with the cameos in both that I think that I think Multiverse of Madness failed to do was utilize the cameo character. Well, and also I'll put cameos in quotes because I don't really
cameos in air quotes.
Yeah, I don't count Toby and Andrew and then the other spiders in Spider-Verse as cameos because they play a role in the story, which like for Spider-Verse it's much more all right, like this doesn't really work without them because or at least without them being there, but you could have had a different version of any of those characters really show. Like we could have had a Peter Parker that is kind of is like not where Peter B was. We could have had the other main universe Peter Parker, Blondie, be there, and it would have functioned pretty much the same. And so like the thing is, they play a role in the story, and it's not just like they're there for eye candy. Like
exactly.
It's not like, oh hey, look at them, that's cool. Hey, this is Mr. Fantastic. Hey, cool. He's dead.
He
Like,
turned into blue spaghetti.
yeah, and so like for No Way Home, that movie can still work without them because you can still have Michelle and Ned fulfill those roles that the two Peters do. It just would be slightly
It just makes
different.
it like a lot better.
Yeah, it
Because
makes it much better.
because like it did the same exact thing with Into Spider-Verse did, which apparently now is a bad thing according to people who hate No Way Home, where it gave Peter the two people in the entire world that understands him, which is just other iterations of Peter Parker, and apparently now it's a bad thing because it happened in No Way Home.
It was nostalgia.
Yeah, it was
nothing of substance.
It was nostalgia bait. This movie doesn't care about Tom Holland's Peter Parker. This movie didn't give a shit. The movie is only good when the other two Spider-Men show up, right? It's like saying that the Into Spider-Verse is only good where the other Spider-Men are in frame.
Yeah, like it's like No Way Home. Of all the things that you could take an issue with No Way Home, because there are things that like the movie is or that does affect the movie.
Yeah.
Of all the things to take issue with, the role that like saying that they're just there for eye candy really doesn't make sense to me because the way the movie is structured and like the way the payoffs happen and how much you feel for Tom's version of Peter, like by the end of the movie, that was all purposeful. And like they very clearly, and I'll come back to this later when we get into the Spider-Man 2 section of this.
Oh no, that's spoiler. That's spoiler. You spoiled it.
Oh shit, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll come back to this point later when we get to the later point in the podcast. Not saying what it is.
Saved it.
Totally. But a third act, like kind of a principle of screenwriting is you can have issues going through your movie. Like you can have some issues going through it. Not everything could be perfect in the beginning or the middle, but if you have a really solid third act that is a satisfying conclusion to everything that happened before, you have a banger pretty much.
Right.
Like you have a movie that people are going to remember. And it's kind of present in the Batman as well, where the Batman goes on for a while there's a lot less there's a lot less in the Batman that could make that affects the movie, like versus No Way Home. That movie is long and it is a slow burn.
Right.
And so that third act really has to pay off what was set up in the beginning. And that No Way Home also does that as well with Peter's like he wants to have everything, and because of that want, it's affecting everyone else around him. And that's what the spell is he wants for Ned and Michelle to not be affected by knowing him, but he also selfishly wants to still keep everything the way it was. And that's where the spell breaking off comes from. And the movie later pays that off with him realizing, if I'm going to do the right thing, and with Aunt May, with great power, great responsibility, he reaffirms in himself that if I'm going to do the right thing, I'm going to have to give up what I want and just kind of deal with it. And that is what works so well about the third act, and that's what also the other Spider-Men enforce, is they got what they wanted. I mean, Toby straight up says it. I got what I wanted. It did not make things any better for me.
Yeah, I mean, even Andrew's Spider-Man said that he literally stopped pulling his punches the way he fucking kills people. Like, goes on a murder plea.
I don't know if he kills people, but I
don't know. Well, I mean, like, he said, like, he stopped pulling his punches.
Yeah, it is up for, like, it is very much, oh, did he kill someone? Or did he, like...
Did he kill the lizard?
Well, okay, I was gonna say that, because that was the thing when the lizard is like, Max, do I die? I was like, shit, he's from a different point in time. So, like, was he, like, did Andrew kill him?
Yeah.
Yo.
But yeah, that's kind of like what the other Spider-Man are for. Like, they're not there for, like, jack shit. Like, they're there for enforcing that idea that Peter's wanted from the start of the movie that, hey, this does not work.
Yeah, I have to change. Like, my wants is not gonna make things better, so I gotta change.
No, but it's old Spider-Man that we saw in past movies. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's nostalgia bait. The old we have old villains instead of villains that are personal to Peter. It's bad. Even though it still enforces that idea that hey what I want is not good.
That villains that don't have a personal connection to Peter, that's an argument I'm gonna tackle later as well.
Yeah, that's a very hard argument to go against, but I mean, me personally, it still helped with, Peter's whole arc of understanding that he needs to be more responsible with his actions, because these are villains that came because of something he did wrong.
Yeah. It works, like, villains with personal connections to Peter work when there's a good theme going through with the story.
Right.
But
that's just not the direction the movie took.
Yeah, the thing that I have with it more is I don't want every villain to have that personal connection to Peter Parker, because I think that's just, you're right, everyone is kind of conforming to these rules of what makes a good Spider-Man villain.
Right.
And we are, it's unsure writers conform strictly to rules, and then you have the opposite end where it's not really brash writers. I'm trying to remember what the actual wording is, because I agree with the statement where it's unsure writers conform to rules. Some writers just try to break the rules because they don't want to be contained, but then just breaking the rules for the sake of, I want to be different. It's like, subversion of expectations.
Yeah, basically.
Just because I want to subvert.
And then you have those writers are like, shit, a writer didn't like this part of the movie, I have to change my whole movie script.
Yeah, right. And like that. That's Wakanda that's the Wakanda Forever leaks, huh?
No, oh dear God, I haven't seen those. Don't tell me.
Oh, okay, I won't tell you.
Don't tell me,
I'll tell you
please.
after you see the movie.
Okay.
Read those leaks at your own risk, everybody. But yeah, it's like, and a writer who's not confident in their work will conform to, or their skills will conform to what other people say about what they should do with their writing.
Right.
And then masters, they own the craft. They know what to do, and they know what not to do. They know their craft. And that's the difference, where you know when to make when to make a villain have a personal connection to Peter and when not to. And like, the thing that I think the MCU movies do really good is that a lot of the villains, the first two villains, barring the third, Mysterio and Vulture, both have pretty much like no real reason to hate Peter until he gives them a reason to hate him. Right. And it's like the same as Spider-Man. Like, Vulture doesn't hate Spider-Man until he interferes with his business. And I love that, because that's just straight out, like, for me, that's just straight out of a classic villain dynamic in the comics, where Spider-Man pisses off the villains, and that's why they hate him, not because they know his secret identity.
Yeah, like, not every villain has to know Peter's secret identity.
Yeah, for them to be effective. Like, it works for some. When you do it too much, it starts to get tired, and now I'm seeing the formula in a Spider-Man movie. I mean, like, dude, Kingpin knows jack shit about Miles' secret identity.
Yeah.
And
knew absolutely nothing.
That's a really good villain. Like,
he's a good villain, because, like, hey, I'm gonna stop your ass. Like, no.
Yeah, you're interfering with I want to get my wife and child back, and you're interfering with me? How dare you? Like,
you're approaching me? I can't kick your ass if I'm not closer.
Right? Basic villain dynamic in Spider-Man comics.
Like, honestly, I don't, like, it's such a hard argument to go against, because, like, I'm not saying that it wouldn't work if like, it was revolved around, you know, the Volta or Scorpion, which I still want to see, but I think with the direction that the movie took with the start, and, you know, Peter wanting to live two separate lives, which brings about villains from his other lives as Peter Parker, just kind of fits. It just fits. It works well with
also,
the direction they took.
What also works really well is that he's going up against a villain like Green Goblin, who does not live in separate. Like, Peter's trying to have those separate worlds. Goblin does not live in a separate world at all, pretty much. Like, he is 100% gung-ho. I mean, there is the split personality that they take, direction that they took with Norman, just in general.
Right.
But the thing is that Goblin doesn't want to live two separate lives. He wants to be Goblin. Like, he doesn't want the cure. He wants it. And so that's the interesting thing, is you get that version of the villains trying to teach the hero the lesson of the movie, but because it's coming from the villain, we as the audience know it's a flawed lesson.
Right.
And that's the really effective part of it.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, adding Green Goblin in, like, it even, like, when we know Green Goblin is just the direct foil to Spider-Man in the Raimi movies, works because, like, it works especially because he knows how to fuck up Peter Parker, like, mentally speaking. He knows how to break down, like, any Peter Parker, because, like, as he said in the movie, that, like, he figured out a Peter Parker, so he can pretty much do it again with any Spider-Man.
And he does it.
Yeah.
And, like, the thing, too, that I really like, and that this also goes into my view that we shouldn't see any more Osborns in the next MCU trilogy, partially because I'm just tired of Osborns in my Spider-Man movies, and I don't want to see them anymore. And also, I want to see other villains. The thing is, the issue I have with comics is that nothing ever has an end cycle, and the Goblin is one of those villains where when he dies, you believe that should be the last of that Goblin. Like, they should stay dead, because then when they come back, it just keeps going back into a cycle of, oh, the Goblin's back, he knows my identity, what's going to happen this time? How is he going to ruin Peter Parker's mental state, like, further? Yeah. And, like, that's why I think for the movies, I like that they stuck to their guns in the Raimi trilogy and kept him dead. And then his death had lingering effects going forward, really good on Harry. I like that part a lot. The thing is, they overused it in the other movies, and it just kept going back to it, and it felt like I wasn't getting anything new and original with the stories, which leads again into why I like the MCU even more, because we didn't get any other previous villains at all. Like, I know I saw a bunch of theories, like, too, of like, oh, when are we going to see Doc Ock in the MCU? When are we going to see Green Goblin?
Yeah.
And I'm glad we don't get to see an MCU version of those characters, because I'd rather see, like, Spider-Man has 60 years worth of villains to go off of. Like, we haven't even seen half of the Sinister Six in live action in, like, a substantial way. Like, I don't count Rhino at the end of TASM 2 because it's like 2 minutes. Like, we haven't seen Kraven. We haven't seen Rhino at all, and like, I would just want to see Rhino for the fact that I think it'd be really cool. He's just a big ass dude,
exactly,
running around. Like, that's gonna be some great action. So, like, it just, I want to see new villains, and I really like how they used Goblin here, because now I don't think we need to see him, and then his existence here can also set up the birth of Hobgoblin if they want to go back to a Goblin villain, because Hobgoblin is, despite, all of the annoyance that comes with how drawn out the who is the Hobgoblin thing was. Is
Ned
he Flash?
Lee
Is he
as the
Ned?
Hobgoblin.
Yeah. Like, I don't want them to draw that part out. I would rather, if they do Hobgoblin, I would rather they do a fake out of whoever is part of Peter's new supporting cast in the college trilogy, because that would please my monkey brain to rather have someone who's in the story be said that Peter himself doesn't really know very well at this point, be super sus of like, hey, this guy might be the villain, and then have that fake out of, oh, no, this wasn't the villain, it was someone else, and I still don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Like, that would be
It's kind of like what they did in Spectacular, where you thought it was Haley, but it turned out Norman.
Yeah, like that show for me watching through that, where I'm like, I know it's Norman, that's the Green Goblin, please. I've done my research.
I've seen a single Spider-Man comic.
Yeah, right? It's like me going through, I'm like, it's obviously Norman. The fact that the show got me to go, wait a second. Was it actually? Hold up.
Yeah.
Like that, just beautiful.
Yeah.
But, alright.
I guess speaking of the college trilogy, we might as well talk about the Tom Holland deal.
Okay. We'll hit that first, and then we gotta hit the next one.
Yeah, that was a big one. So
guns are loaded.
the big deal with Tom Holland that I think it was like 2 days ago, or was it yesterday?
It was this week.
It was this week. Yeah, it was like sometime this week.
That time frame.
Yeah, it was like this week where Tom Holland recently signed off for the MCU for his college trilogy, of course, and then it was going to be Secret Wars and the Kang Dynasty. He was also signed off for, and Daredevil Born Again.
Okay, wait, was it confirmed Born Again?
It was confirmed Born Again. Yes.
Unknown. Oh, dude.
It was confirmed Born Again. Yes, because I mean it. I already figured it was Born Again because I heard that Born Again was going to be like kind of a continuation or kind of a prequel of Spider-Man 4, where it kind of ties into that.
That, by the way, that was my tweet that got picked up by the article website. That was because it was talking about that rumor. So
yeah. My
thought was that it was either going to be Daredevil Born Again or it was going to be Fantastic Four. Which I would love that, but it's got
to be Born Again, yeah.
My thing with Born Again, and him showing up there, and then Born Again being directly tied to Spider-Man 4, is that I don't want the TV shows, which are the supplemental material in this, to be required reading, basically,
right,
for the audience to understand what's happening in the movie. Because the thing with supplemental material is it basically is like homework for the audience when it becomes essential.
And that's like kind of a recent, that's kind of been a problem with the MCU for a little bit now, especially with I think it was like after Phase 4.
It was Multiverse of Madness that was
the worst. I was like Multiverse of Madness where it started to feel like, okay, why do I have to watch like all these different things to understand what's happening here? And to that extent, I agree.
Because, even I'm gonna say right now, Multiverse of Madness was bad, not just because it failed. It failed on other levels, but even me, who had seen WandaVision and going into Multiverse of Madness, seeing Wanda's state of character was jarring even for me, who watched the show, because I was like, how did she get from where she ended in that show to I'm going to use all these demons and whatnot and kill?
No. See, it was a Book of the Damned. See, it was the book. It wasn't anything else.
Oh yeah, it was totally.
It was the book of the plot device.
Yeah, it was totally shown that it was influencing her decisions, and she wasn't in her right state of mind, and that Chthon was possessing her. Oh wait, no, it wasn't. You know what drives me even more nuts about that though was the
What?
original. Like they had versions where Chthon was actually possessing her. Why didn't you do that?
Wait. Like Multiverse of Madness, look at the name Chthon is like, why did you say that name?
Dude, like I
Anyways.
read the comics, writers.
Anyways.
Read the comics.
But yeah, no, I understand like where you're coming from, and you know, I think that maybe Born Again isn't necessarily going to be like you need to watch this to understand Spider-Man 4, but it makes your viewing experience a little better if you do, but it's not necessary.
Yeah. That is the mindset that I think you should go into when creating a series like that. Like Andor and then Clone Wars right now.
Yeah.
Like Andor is being really good supplemental material for Rogue One, and Clone Wars was insanely good supplemental material for Episode 3. Like watching Clone Wars and then going into Revenge of the Sith, like right after you finish the series.
It's honestly amazing. It's fantastic. It makes your viewing experience a lot better. It doesn't make the movie better. The movie's still like okay, but
I'll say it elevates Revenge of the Sith higher than it was.
Yeah.
And I will also defend that Revenge of the Sith is pretty good.
I think it's good. It's
that's
fun.
A different discussion.
That's a whole discussion we'll get into. We're not about that right now. We're about dumb Spider-Man stuff.
But yeah, so what I hope actually is that they deal with we get to see Spider-Man and Daredevil deal with Kingpin together on the show, and then when we go into Spider-Man's movie, we deal with someone who's just straight up a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
That like doesn't because the thing is Kingpin has been more of a Daredevil villain for like 40 years.
Yeah.
Like he was introduced in Spider-Man, in Amazing Spider-Man, but he didn't stick around very long.
No, he's like kind of a side villain for Spider-Man, if anything.
A little bit, yeah. Like he's always there early on, and then he goes over to Daredevil, and Daredevil deals with him. And right. I think that was a better match. And so like I can't wait to see whatever suit Spider-Man's wearing, which for the love of God, don't do anything to that suit unless you're going to change the back logo to be the thick boy.
Yeah.
Like, that suit is...
Yeah. Once I heard that it was getting modified, I was like, oh no, I'm a little worried.
I don't care. I'm going to be honest. I don't care if the suit is a CGI model, because most of the time, I don't notice it, because I'm watching... Like, it's not obtrusive. It's not, like... ridiculously bad effects. It still gets me in there. It still makes it like I believe it. While I think they will do a more practical suit in Born Again, just because show budget different than movie budget.
Yeah.
I'm not against them using the CGI model, because they still use. Like, they still have the practical suit. Like, even in No Way Home, I know some people were trying, like, oh, dude, this suit looks trash, but he's still wearing the suit. Like, you can say that the design is a little whack, which, like, I'll give you that the gold spider logo at the end, that suit was a little whack, but that suit still looked amazing.
Oh, yeah, the hybrid suit?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the design's a little weird. I don't really like the gold.
I don't like the design of just the big spider logo.
Yeah, it's like, too big.
The thing with the big spider logo is you have to, like, you need to change either the way the suit is designed underneath to accommodate, or you need to, like, change, like, everything about the suit in general. Like, look up Sensational Spider-Man suit. That does the big suit logo, or Spectacular Spider-Girl, because they're kind of the same suits. Look up those, and then, like, the symbiote suit as well. They do big spider logos, like, basically perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's big spider logos that wrap around to the back. Because the weird thing with the spider logo in the MCU version is it wraps around to the back, but the back logo is smaller than the front logo, and it looks weird.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work. But Another sidetrack we got there.
Yeah, I know. We love talking about suits, but
Dude.
Okay, like if we're really going to like what's going to happen in like who do you think we're gonna see Spider-Man and Fantastic Four in Secret Wars? I doubt it.
100% they'll interact. I don't think it'll be anything like
What?
huge.
I think the Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars.
Well, I think Fantastic Four is after the Kang Dynasty.
Oh, is it?
I think it comes out after.
Is it the Kang Dynasty and then Secret Wars, or is it?
Yeah, it's Kang Dynasty first. Then I remember seeing Fantastic Four sandwiched in between them. Wherever they are, wherever it takes place in the timeline, could be like anyone's message. Like they could be introduced first in the Kang Dynasty, because Kang is a descendant in the 31st century of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. So like,
right,
like that is a thing. Which that confuses me because comics don't progress time. So how is the who's the ancestor? Comics don't go forward like in time. I can't follow this. Anyway, I could see them introducing the Fantastic Four there as like this is who my ancestors were, kind of monologue from Kang. And then we have the movie that fully introduces them, kind of like how Captain Marvel was sandwiched in between Infinity War and Endgame.
Right.
But yeah, like I don't know when it'll take place. I just know it's getting released in between. I want to see Spider-Man and Fantastic Four interact together.
Yeah,
but
I want to see that too. Like I think it might be like a small interaction between. In like Secret Wars, I think it might be like a small interaction with them. I
can't see it happening in the movie if that's their like complete introductory movie.
I don't think it's gonna happen there. But I think that what I want to see is just like kind of the Fantastic Four seeing Peter with his abilities, like, this kid's got potential, and then we have maybe like a small interaction with Johnny and Peter, which would be nice.
Right. Like that would be really fun.
That's wistful thinking right there.
All right. Let's see. What do you think would be the story of the next Spider-Man?
So, I think the next story of the Spider-Man is this kind of Peter getting over Ned and MJ. I think that has to be like the biggest thing, because if you want a natural continuation of No Way Home, then you need to have Peter like be fucking obsessed with Ned and MJ and wanting to talk to them, even though he can't. Because, I mean, of course he gave them up willingly, but to protect them, but that doesn't mean he's going to be okay with it, right? So I think just getting adjusted to the new environment the new environment of college while getting adjusted to making new friends would be really good. And I think it would be good to see, I don't know about Harry being introduced this early on, but I think at least seeing Gwen Stacy being introduced, or even Catwoman would work.
Oh, Catwoman, Black Cat, sir.
A Black Cat, shit.
Fake Spider-Man fan detected.
Look, man, I've been thinking a lot about Batman lately. I don't want to talk about it.
I don't blame you. I also want to rewatch the Batman. Like,
God, those two get mixed up. Anyways, but I think that seeing at least Gwen Stacy and Black Cat would work, because they're people who can be very like extroverted and want to hang out with Peter more. And I think having that extroverted group with Peter Parker in this new trilogy at this fourth movie would help like get over Ned and MJ for one reason or another. Or maybe like Black Cat can convince Spider-Man to like work with her to find her dad or whatever, or however they want that story to go along. And I think that maybe Black Cat is kind of a toxic way of Peter like getting over them or something like that. But I think the main focus should be just trying to get adjusted to his new life, because No Way Home fucked up Peter Parker hard. Like I don't,
poor boy.
I don't think that really any iteration of Spider-Man has ever hurt the character that badly.
Oh, dude, it's no contest anymore. Like, if we're gonna like start comparing, the shit hands and like trauma that Spider-Man have gone through, I think the only one that has more on Tom's version is the comics, and that's basically because he's been around for 60 years.
Yeah, obviously, but like the
Toby,
thing,
Andrew,
yeah,
small fries.
Yeah, but like the thing that they accomplished in fucking like 10 minutes is monumental compared to what they compared to like every other iteration of Spider-Man, and I think that we need to feel how hard this hit Peter Parker, like how hard he's being affected by being forced to leave everyone he's known and loved behind.
Mm-hmm. So, that whole explanation right there, I had like the biggest grin on my face because somebody read my screenplay.
Yeah, I did. Look, man, I'm not trying to go apart. Look, I'm sorry. I wanted to like not go into your screenplay a little bit
hey,
and
don't
like reference off
this
it.
Is free clout.
It's free clout, but that screenplay is like really good, and that direction is probably the smartest way you can take with the character in that fourth movie.
I appreciate it very much, and I will say, like, I've written my own. I have I have the idea of where I would want Peter to go as well, which is I want to see him like just kind of getting through the day, and kind of it being just not misery porn sad, which I'll explain why I don't like that later in the podcast as well.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be misery porn. I just want it to be that kind of sad where like it's just kind of he's going through the motions now.
Yeah.
Where he's like, this is what it is, and
like this kind of day in, day out.
Yeah, like he's not really taking anything outside in. He's just doing the bare necessities and then living with his foot back with his 2 feet back in the past.
You know what? Think of Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Kinda, yeah.
Kinda.
Like,
it's a little bit like that way, where he kind of rejects Peter Parker's life as a whole, and he just takes on the full superhero life of Spider-Man.
Which, like, that's why I think Black Cat is like right now. This is kind of the perfect time to bring in Black Cat, where he's at his lowest of at least. We're assuming, because while, No Way Home did end on a more positive note for, Spider-Man, and while Peter happily, air quotes, because it's kind of happy, kind of sad, he walked away from Ned and Michelle, he's still, like, when he gets into that apartment, you see him kind of like, yeah, all right, this is where I am, kind of deal. So I think that's the perfect time to introduce Black Cat, who at first I can tell a lot of people would probably be mad about this because that's not what she's like in the current comic, and that's why that's the thing that I had with a lot of people making the argument that MCU Peter isn't like Peter Parker, because that's not what he's like now.
That's not like no, you need to be in the current comic where he's flustered over talking to a girl in his fucking 30s.
Dude, don't even get me started. Don't even. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to. Let's go back to gushing about my screenplay. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. But like it's I want to see a version of Black Cat where she's very much I like the Spider-Man side. I don't need to have it, be very explicit of her saying, I prefer this side of you. I'd rather it be shown in her actions, where it's very, like, you can infer pretty clearly from what she does and that she doesn't want a part of the Peter Parker side of the life. And that can take many forms. That could be just, like, she's stalking, like how I do it, she kind of, it's set up immediately that she's been stalking him for a while because she knows exactly where he starts from and then where his apartment is later to catch him. So like
Right.
she knows who he is because she has been following him, and I establish that, but I also show that she's known this whole time. So if she's that interested in Spider-Man, why hasn't she gone to like talk to Peter when he's out of the costume? Why hasn't she approached him before?
Right.
And so that's kind of how I'm tackling she doesn't really care for that side of his life.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting thing. And I think I'm just patting myself on the back there. God,
Yes, you are.
That sounded pretentious. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
And like as it comes to Gwen, I don't think it needs to be Gwen specifically. I think that they could use pretty much anyone from Spider-Man's cast of college friends and just other friends in general. Like,
It'd be a little jarring to see Harry though, because after Norman, it's a little jarring.
I don't want to see Osborns. And
no more Osborns.
I know, yeah, I know. Like, I know if Harry shows up, there's going to be a really weird focus on Osborn. His name is Osborn the whole time, and like I think that can work.
It's just like at a later movie.
It's like
it's like it's just not a good start for the fourth movie. Basically,
I wouldn't say not a good start. I would say it's just something I'd be tired of. I'd get tired of because I'd be like, okay, another Harry Osborn. I think it can work because I mean, I like Troy Oboyo's 17 rewrites. I'm not gonna talk smack about those because I like them. My personal preference is I don't want to see Harry.
Yeah.
And because there's just so many other characters, like, and I think while I use Gwen because I want to try and do a version of Gwen where I think what Peter needs the most after No Way Home is a friend, rather than a romantic relationship, because that's the big thing. Is I'm like I don't want him to date anybody in the next movie.
It's a little too early. It's definitely too early for that.
Yeah, and so like giving him a friend is the goal. I just kind of chose Gwen Stacy because I was like, I want to see if I can make Gwen as likable as Spectacular Spider-Man made her. Like that's the goal here.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and so like I wanted it, and that was my thought process. Was like, all right, let's see what I can do to craft this character that would take Peter out of his shell and get him back into living as Peter Parker again.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, if there's no, like, if Peter Parker doesn't have the personal life to go off of, then it's just the Spider-Man stuff all the time, and you kind of lose some of what, made Peter, or at least Spider-Man in general, so appealing, was that he had those like personal dilemmas of my friends are doing something, but I gotta go save other people's lives. Do I go meet up with my friends or like? And that's the fun part of it all.
Yeah. I think that Gwen can definitely work. It's just that Gwen has besides Spider-Gwen, of course, Gwen hasn't had a good iteration of live action. Really?
No, I mean, I'll say it right now. This might be my most hot take. Actually, my second most hot take.
The second most hot take.
Because we'll get to the hottest.
Yeah, we'll get to the hottest one
later. We're hyping it up. This is our movie. My hot take is that Emma Stone, like the actress herself, is the only reason why people, and her chemistry with Andrew Garfield is the only reason why people like Gwen Stacy in live action, and partially because Mary Jane in the Raimi trilogy is not very likable.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's. I think it's purely the actors were so good that they just kind of elevated the writing around them, and that's why Spectacular Gwen stands above the rest, because the writing and the actress were extremely good. So.
I know, right? God, I love Spectacular Gwen.
Oh, it's so good. But that was my main goal, was let's bring in Gwen Stacy, try to get people to love her from my skill as the writer, because that's all I have right now. Is like, I hope people love people like the version of Gwen that I set up. And I was like, there's not enough just friendship relationships between men and women on screen. It's always like
it's always some fucking it's always like two main characters get together thing.
It's like they have to, like, we see a man and a woman on screen that have chemistry. Well, they gotta
literally my biggest problem with Moon Knight.
I can see that. Like, that's why I actually really liked Black Widow and Hawkeye's dynamic a lot.
Yeah.
In the movies, because they were friends.
Yeah, because his buddies.
Like, it was great.
Like they like it was like kind of hinted at that they kind of had feelings for each other like one time at a time, but they ended up just being really good friends.
Yeah,
and that
like
worked.
they expanded on those feelings and showed that it was like they care for each other.
Yeah,
like, and that's what I want to see more of. And so I was like, I'm gonna make them friends right now. And
right.
Unfortunately, that came at the cost of Captain George Stacy, who's never been done justice in live action. And unfortunately, I had to keep him. I had to kill him off screen.
What, you didn't like it when George Stacy came as a memory to Andrew Garfield's Peter in the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Oh, that's whatever. I mean, that's just guilt. That's like Uncle Ben could have popped up in that scene. I would have been like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I killed off screen George Stacy to kind of put Gwen in the same scenario as Peter, where they're both they have no family left, and so it's kind of that common ground of, like, using it's that trick of using the hero side versus the villain, of a villain who has the same, like, they're just as alone as Peter, would try to convince them that, which is kind of what I do with Black Cat, but she's not a villain, where she just tries to convince him, hey, stay being Spider-Man, because this part of your life is awesome.
Right.
And Gwen is like, yeah, I was just as alone because my dad died, and I found a group of people that, like, made it all better. And she recognizes that in Peter and wants to do the same for him. And that's, I feel like that is part of my cheap trick that I'm doing to make people like her, is like, the easiest trick to make any side character likable is have them care about the main character.
I know, right? It's crazy. It's almost like side characters need to actually care about the main character when they're supposed to care about the main character.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why. Like, which we'll get into that later. Which actually we can in a sec. I wanted to ask though, what don't you want to see in the next Spider-Man? Because I went through what I don't want to see.
What I don't want to see is like a talking or like actual meeting with Nemzade. That's like my biggest thing. But I think other than that is I think the biggest thing I don't want to see is like a big time villain, like a big time villain that has all these personal stakes for Spider-Man and everything. Like, I think I just want to see like a Rogue. I think that's like my biggest thing. Like Kraven. I think Kraven is probably my pick for the next Spider-Man movie, because what's probably gonna happen because of the Sony Kraven movie, which probably gonna be shit anyways. But I think,
what are you talking about? It's gonna make Crave $1 million. Did I do the meme right?
Yeah, you got the meme right. But I think what works for Kraven is that he's just a terrifying man. He's a very scary man, and I think just having someone who can scare the shit out of Spider-Man would be good for the next Spider-Man movie, because there's not too many personal stakes with him, unless like obviously Kraven like hurts like his new friend group, whatever. But he works because it's not too personal for him. Like, he doesn't know his secret identity or whatever. And like you said, it's like a thing that can get tired if done too much. And I think we just need that little bit of break from those bigger villains to focus more on like the smaller villains. Like
because it wouldn't really make sense for the next villain to have like a personal connection to Peter Parker because
Peter Parker doesn't exist.
Yeah, like what would the stakes for that be? He knows nobody after this. Like,
exactly.
There's nothing for them to threaten him with. So like having a villain that would figure that out would just kind of be redundant.
Yeah, I think that it would work for like the fifth or sixth movie, or like the end of the fifth movie going on to the sixth movie. But I think for the fourth movie, it just needs to be a little bit of smaller scale villain, like Kraven, or even my fan pick for the Chameleon, because I really like the Chameleon.
Ooh, yeah, dude.
I like the Chameleon.
And I'm gonna say this, and it's totally not biased because it's totally not the plan that I have for the next movie I want to do in my Spider-Man stuff. Is I don't even think that we need to have a personal connection to Peter, like for the villain to know his identity afterwards. I just think we need to have one of Peter's new like supporting characters or friends just be in danger from whatever the villain's doing. And
just like a kind of
enough.
Just kind of like an incidental danger.
Yeah, like the idea I have is to use Scorpion, and because Scorpion has historically is like I would say Scorpion is only beat by Goblin in terms of just how messed up he'll go and like just how few moral qualms he has in his methods.
Yeah.
Because like most of the other Spider-Man rogues, like Kraven, he's got a code of like, all right, honorable hunt, let's go. Rhino, most of the time doesn't really care and is just like, I'm just gonna beat you if you get in my way. And like Mysterio wants fame. And so, like, for Scorpion, he is straight up, I will kill anybody, pretty much. Like, to get my point. I don't care who I use, like, I will use whatever to win. And that is something that, like, what I want to do is kind of put Gwen after, like, I haven't decided if I would kill her or not. I probably wouldn't.
No, Gwen Stacy is a character that's supposed to die, no matter what, so you have to kill her.
Yeah, screw that. Like, I would have her get caught up in that fight and kind of do a little bit of a fake out sneaky. I'm going to play with the audience emotions.
You have fake outs. No,
I am an evil bastard screenwriter. I would basically have Scorpion get her as like part, not just her specifically, like seeking her out, but take a bunch of people hostage. She ends up being the one that he dangles, and it's like a moment of Peter thinks that like gets like a flashback basically to May, and kind of goes nuts for a second, where we think she's dead. He gets her, he saves her, but he thinks that she's dead for a second. Goes after, finds out that she's alive, and it's like, okay, all right, whatever. But still to have those stakes in there of, oh shit, we know, like that, we know, we know what could happen here. And like to use that to my advantage, where it's just something in character for Scorpion to do, and he just doesn't care who it is. He just knows Spider-Man doesn't let people die.
Yeah, like that's like the best direction to go for Scorpion if he doesn't know his secret identity is to just go on a fucking murder spree to bait Spider-Man. Because like even before, like even like with Homecoming post-credit scene, like we know that Scorpion fucking hates Spider-Man, whether he knew if he was Peter Parker or not. Like, so Peter Parker is not like a thing in play for Scorpion to go on a fucking rampage. So yeah, seeing Scorpion just kind of take random people hostage because like he just knows that Spider-Man just won't let this shit happen. Just a bait him in would work. But I still like Kraven. I still love Kraven.
Oh yeah, I would love to see Kraven too. Like the only thing is like Kraven's a bit more moral in the sense that he won't use people as hostage too much unless Spider-Man is like refusing to fight him.
Right.
Which, to be in all honesty, like why would Spider-Man just refuse to fight him, really?
Yeah.
And, like, this guy's coming after him. Okay, I'm just gonna fight you, subdue you, and then be on my way. And like that I think would really work. The big thing with Kraven is like everyone wants to do Kraven's Last Hunt, and I'm like, you can't do that as the first story with Kraven.
Yeah, it's a little much.
Like,
I
Kraven
think
would have to be.
I think burying fucking Peter Aunt May's grave as a first movie of the new trilogy is a bit much.
That would set the tone. I'm not gonna lie, that would set a real serious tone going forward. But
I think it's a little too dark for the MCU.
They've been missing a little darkness, just a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
What I'll say right now about what I don't want to see, though, no symbiote.
Yeah, I think the symbiote.
No symbiote.
I was gonna go into that too. Is that I think that the symbiote needs to wait a little longer. Like seeing the symbiote in
Secret Wars, like and beyond. I don't.
Okay, well, it depends. Would Secret Wars come before the new Spider-Man trilogy? No.
I don't think we'll go that long without Spider-Man.
I think it's gonna be Spider-Man 4, Secret Wars 5 and 6.
I could see that. I would rather not be. I would rather Secret Wars and then 6.
Yeah, that would be fair enough.
Because that was kind of the trend with
the Home trilogy, where it's like
where we got Homecoming and then Far From Home dealt with the aftermath, and I don't want another Spider-Man movie to really deal with the aftermath of anything. I just would rather it be its own thing.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I don't want to see the symbiote because I'm tired of that story arc a little bit, where it's the only thing everyone goes to, where they're like, we need a serious Spider-Man story, symbiote, and I'm like, well, we don't really need that.
You don't need the symbiote for a serious Spider-Man story. You had No Way Home.
Yeah, right. No, see, there was a joke. It's not serious.
Oh no, that was one joke. Yeah, that was like two jokes.
Yeah, there's a joke. It's not serious, man.
I know.
Because that's what the MCU does, right?
It's just a joke machine.
Yeah, man. But anyway, I would rather have I would rather have just new villain, no symbiote, and then
and then basically your entire screenplay.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Spider-Man 2.
Shall we lay all right, let's lay both of our stances quickly on the movie, and then we'll explain them after. So, your stance, sir?
It's fine. It's good. Like at the start, it goes down a lot after a while. Yeah, it's just fine.
Ooh, already spicy in here. You're not praising it to the ends of the earth, like
I'm trying to keep as low profile as I can, in my opinion, so that I don't get wailed on. I don't get canceled entirely.
All right, I'll take that burden for you.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
So what is your stance on Spider-Man 2?
All right. So I rewatched the movie. First off, this was never my favorite of the Raimi trilogy. Like, even as a kid, I never liked watching it. I rewatched it for No Way Home because I was like, Toby and Andrew are definitely going to be in the movie. And when I rewatched it, I realized kind of bad. Like, kind of bad though. And I will say right now, there are moments that I think this really succeeds as a movie. I don't let a lot of my issues with it stem from adaptation arguments, and I will own those because there's a lot about this that I do not like in pure adaptation. But in script and like looking at the screenplay and how it functions as a movie, I think it works. I think it works pretty well. And so I'm in like this weird middle ground of just
You gotta like look outside the comics too for people who like
Yeah.
haven't like read Spider-Man comics and want to look towards like the movies.
Yeah, and
So, like,
I think people put this one up just on a bit too high of a pedestal. I say as I put Spectacular on like a ridiculously high pedestal anyway. But as accountability, what? No.
No, we don't do that here. We're only here for hot takes. So I think I don't exactly know what came about me with this idea for the specific podcast, but I think it was just like all the new Spider-Man news coming up and seeing Spider-Man Twitter go crazy with Across the Spiderverse and that also stemmed with No Way Home with just like with all the other Spider-Man stuff going around, like more talk about No Way Home being brought about, and I'm like, so what about Spider-Man 2? Where's that at? And then I saw this one tweet where it's like one of those like gimmick tweets where it's like you can only pick one. And it's like Batman, Logan, Into Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2. And I saw like a 90% of the comments saying Spider-Man 2. It's like, you know what? I think we need to talk about this. This is like a thing we need to talk about. And yes, that is how I plan my podcast, by looking at Twitter.
Hey, it works, man. We get hot button topics to talk about. We
do. Unless you don't have Twitter Blue, in which case our tweets are never gonna pop up.
Oh boy, that's a whole other issue for another podcast. I'm gonna be honest. That's gonna need a whole one on its own.
This isn't our like. You stick to your gimmick. stay in your lane. We have to stay in our lanes. Yeah. But anyways, we need to talk about Spider-Man 2 because I literally watched this last night. Last night in preparation of this podcast, and I think that it definitely got a lot better for me. Like I definitely like I have a lot better time with it than I did the last time I watched it, but I think that's because I went into it fully expecting to hate it, and it was a little better for me. And I think the one biggest like thing I have to say that about Spider-Man 2 is that it has a really good production for 2004. It is produced extremely well. There's such an improvement from Spider-Man and the CGI with his swinging, everything that works really well. That and the arms are fucking amazing. They've always happened for me.
Like, I really like this might be heresy, but I kind of prefer the fully CGI arms in No Way Home, just for like how they moved about, and like Alfred Molina was actually pretty happy because he could do more without the physical stuff. But I do really like all of the close-up shots and how impressive those arms are. Like, they are really impressive.
Yeah, it's a very well-produced movie for 2004, but The Incredibles is still better as a superhero movie. Like, I've always said that The Incredibles is still the best superhero movie of 2004, and still one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, but I don't think that I think that Spider-Man 2 didn't age well. You know, I think that for its time, Spider-Man 2 was really, really good. And as people have said, like the best comic book movie of all time, which, let's be honest, there wasn't much competition back then.
No,
but
because it was either
Catwoman or Blade.
Forever, because at the time, like, dude, let's be honest, Spider-Man 2 does not come close to Christopher Reeve's Spider-Man or Superman.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I have to agree with that.
Oh god. It's Christopher Reeve Superman, so good. Like, that's all I have to say on that. I'm gonna refuse to elaborate.
I think that it had idea. It had a lot of really good ideas for its time, but I think as Spider-Man, as a as a character continued to evolve with its new ideas and new themes for the character, those ideas got old very quickly, and the way it was executed that worked really well then doesn't necessarily work now. And I think I think one of the biggest issues for me is that Spider-Man just completely refuses helping people entirely. And yeah, I understand where the movie was coming from with that, and again, but back in the day, it might have worked then, but considering how far the character has evolved, it doesn't work now. It's too much of a character regression.
So, okay. Now we're getting closer to what I think with this movie. So, what I really dislike is how much misery porn we get.
Yeah, misery porn. Yeah, that's like the biggest thing with this movie, is that there's too much misery porn.
Well, and my thing with it too is it's contrived misery porn, because all right,
Is this going to adaptation? Is this going into adaptation arguments?
No, not yet. You're going to see why I'm known as the resident Spider-Man 2 hater in the server. So, okay. Spider-Man 2 takes place 2 years after... alright. You wouldn't really know it's 2 years after, because they don't really tell you specifically. But it takes place after Spider-Man 1.
Yeah.
Peter has moved out.
Right.
Harry and MJ are close enough to know what his financial situation is, because Harry and Peter used to live together.
Right.
Peter moved out of the apartment, which leaves the assumption that, at least for me watching, Harry knows where Peter lives. So he knows and he's his best friend. He knows what his financial situation is.
Uh-huh. I think I may see where you're going with this, but continue.
It gets worse. Mary Jane also appears at the end of the movie. She appears at his apartment, to which we were not given an explanation as to whether she just now found where he lived or if she always knew where he lived. The fact that she shows up at his apartment at all unprompted, with nothing telling us if she got the address from Harry or from Aunt May, leads me to believe that she also is aware of Peter's living situation and that he lives in a crappy ass apartment because that's all he can afford.
Uh-huh.
They also know that his job is taking pictures of Spider-Man for the Daily Bugle.
Right.
That already leads to the fact, with his financial situation being known to them, leads to the fact that they would have, at least, I believe, with how they set up these characters in the last movie, that they would have way more grace for Peter and understanding that, alright, well, he can't meet us for everything because he's got to pay for his aunt's stuff and make sure she's good because we know her financial situation. And then he's got to pay for his own living, his college, his food. We know this. So I understand why he's pretty busy, because he kind of has to be if he wants to, be able to eat and survive. And so they know he's busy.
Right.
Why are they giving him so much shit for not making it to anything? Remember what we said, or what I said earlier about, the easiest way to get your audience to like some characters is to have them be nice to the main character
that
we follow?
Right.
This is why I hate Mary Jane in this movie. And
I think, okay, to be fair, I think Mary Jane is, probably one of the biggest problems with a lot of people who even like Spider-Man 2, is that Mary Jane and Harry are probably, the biggest issues for the movie.
Harry, I like Harry more in this movie, because there's moments where I'm because the other thing too is I understand why Harry is like this, because he's got a lot of beef with Spider-Man, and that kind of carries over. You're gonna be a little upset that your best friend is taking pictures of the guy who you believe killed him. So, like, I can get behind that. My only problem is that, like, we weren't given, at least I don't remember, so correct me since you're more fresh on this.
Yeah.
We weren't given any explanation as to whether or not Harry has tried to get Peter to come work for him at Oscorp rather than letting him take pictures of Spider-Man. Because that, like, if the movie said that, oh, you know, offer's still available, you could come work over at Oscorp with me. I mean, I know you love science. Like, that would make a lot of sense from Harry. He doesn't want his best friend taking pictures of Spider-Man because he hates him, and he knows his best friend is scientifically inclined and is a genius. So, like, hire him, or at least offer. Like, if Peter declines, that's fine. Like, no problem. You can be as mad as you want now that he'd rather take pictures of the guy you think murdered your father, and instead of working for his best friend or working with his best friend. So, like, that would have been fine.
I have some bad news for you. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen at all. That does not happen at all. There was not even a hint of. There's not even a hint of Peter. Like, there's not even a hint of Harry even talking to Peter about that. It, like, the whole thing with Harry is that he's just obsessed over fucking
over Spider-Man.
Over Spider-Man and over Octavius, and how this is going to put his company on the map or something.
Which, like, I get being obsessed with Spider-Man. That's the thing where I'm like, all right, he's grieving. I can give it a bit more of a pass. Mary Jane, on the other hand, absolutely zero grace whatsoever. And that partially leads me into my first adaptation argument of the night, which is, you made me hate Mary Jane. I hate you. Because Mary Jane is, like, my second favorite Spider-Man character. Peter isn't even my favorite. Ben Reilly is my favorite. And you made me hate Mary Jane. That is the cardinal sin of the Spider-Man, like, adaptation.
So I think there's always, like, that weird in between where she doesn't, like, know what Peter, like you said about earlier with his financial situation stuff. She doesn't, like, know why he's bailing out on so many things, and why he can't, like, she even, like, said in the movie that, you know, her grandma that was sick got out of a hospital bed to go see her at the show. And I think that's kind of that whole, like, argument scene was kind of, like, where people were a little bit more forgiving for Mary Jane, where you have people who realistically should not be showing up to a play at all, but are still showing up, where Peter can't make the showing, and she doesn't know that he's Spider-Man, obviously. So
I have a thing for that, by the way.
You come prepared for this.
I did. There's a reason why I'm the resident hater. Him showing up late to the play, he has a very, very, very good excuse, because it's not just Harry and Mary Jane that I dislike in this movie. I don't even like Peter that much in this movie because he has genuine excuses.
Yeah.
And like believable excuses, and he doesn't give any of them. He just takes it, and I'm like, bro, why are you taking this? Like, it doesn't make sense, because he had excuses in the last movie. Like, he had them prepared.
Yeah.
So why isn't he doing it now? I like the biggest one is that where she's like, you didn't even show up to my play.
He got stopped by Bruce Campbell. He got stopped by Bruce Campbell. It's
not even that. His bike got run over. He has proof. He has the receipt. Like, no sense.
Your bike is on cutting out.
I'm sorry. My man has the receipts, and he won't show them. It leads me to hate him, because he's just taking it, and it makes for a really, really unsatisfying
Yeah, and
Watch through.
I even remember like seeing the telephone scene where it's like trying to explain like why he couldn't show up, but he waited until the very end to say that, oh, there was also this very annoying usher. I'm like, just start off with that.
Yeah,
just start off with that. It's like, hey, MJ, I'm sorry I couldn't show up. Your usher was being a dick.
Lead also with the fact that, hey, my busted ass bike is outside of the theater. Or was outside of the theater. Just walk out, you would have seen it.
Well, okay, the thing about that is, he didn't go in the theater with the bike. He went in with the fucking thief's car. And that was a really funny scene, though, where
I forgot.
Where, like, the officer was like, hey, if you gotta park that, or I'm gonna tell her. It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
That was a funny scene, but I don't think he could really have proof of the bike being run over unless, just being...
He's a photographer.
Yeah, he's a photographer, yeah, I guess that's true, but I think that unless, like, MJ trusts him enough to believe that his bike got run over by a fucking car, I don't think that, like, the bike is really proof enough, but he could have just said that the usher wouldn't let him in, when that literally is what happened.
Because if she doesn't
fucking Bruce Campbell doesn't let him in.
She could say, I don't believe you, and at that point, I'd be going, all right, well, this relationship should not be going. I'm already like that to begin with. I don't root for them in the marriage, because she leaves, like, John Jameson, dude, poor John Jameson.
John Jameson such a tragedy. Even, like, after watching Spectacular Spider-Man, I want to see more of him in Spider-Man 2. But he just gets so beat up. Like he's literally Peter Parker. It's just all misery porn.
He's such a Chad too, though, because he always, like, this man, like, did actually the nice thing at the reception for, like, his engagement party. Like, it's framed as a, like, oh no, the world is piling more on Peter because, Harry drunkenly, which I think that's actually fine. Harry drunkenly, like, shouting at Peter and everything.
Yeah, I didn't really have any problems with that, honestly.
Well, I mean, because he's drunk. Like,
yeah,
it's gonna come out.
Like, drunk people do stupid things, and drunk millionaire does the stupid things.
Well, yeah, and, like, I mean, when your inhibitions are, freer, you're just gonna say whatever's on your mind.
Right.
Like, there's the part of your brain that says, no, don't do that, dumbass. You're gonna get beat up for it.
Right.
Like, and so, like, that part's fine. And, after that whole scene happens, everyone is looking at him. John Jameson does the Chad thing and takes attention away from Peter so he doesn't get humiliated anymore. And takes the attention away and is basically like, hey, yo, look at us. We're gonna be a thing up here. Don't, like, and that's fucking Chad. Like,
he's a good
nice
dude.
Guy.
Like, he even tried inviting fucking Parker Peter to the wedding, which MJ said, right. Oh no, I'm not gonna invite him. No.
Yeah.
Right. Such a good guy.
I'm gonna say it right now. Like, I'm not gay, but I would marry him. Like,
look, like, John Jameson got the shittiest hand possible, because he's just wrapped up in this fucking sick love triangle.
Wrong. He doesn't even know he's in the love triangle.
He doesn't, like, that's the worst part. He just thinks he's getting married to, like, a genuinely good woman, but it turns out it's just all part of her fucking dastardly plan to get back at Peter.
Like,
that's how it's framed. You think it wouldn't be like that, but that's how exactly it's framed, because after the party, like, we get the talking scene with MJ and Peter, and they talk a little bit about how, they might want to be together again. It's like, and Peter's like, oh boy, yeah. It's like, oh, what? Nothing.
Oh, isn't that when he speaks poetry to her?
No, that's not it. That's later. But
okay.
Like, she angrily walks off away from the fence, like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm seeing someone.
Yeah, like, what?
That felt so intentional that it's framing like, okay, this is just to get back at Peter.
This bitch toxic. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now. This is another adaptation argument I'm going for. The Mary Jane that I know in the comics that I read and I love, this lady ain't cheating on anyone. She ain't like she'll definitely do some she'll do some petty shit like that, which she has done before, but that was because that was justified in her character going around. That's who she was, kind of I'm not really. She was never really tied down by anyone. She was never, I'm dating, officially, I'm dating you, until after Gwen's death, where she got serious. And so pre-Gwen death, Mary Jane was very much, I'm just gonna go around, have a good time, and I don't really care. And that's fine, because she's not dating somebody, she's not in a committed relationship, and she's not purposefully saying when she's in a committed relationship with someone and talking to another guy that she was fully willing to risk it all with, and going, oh, by the way, I'm dating someone else after that guy rejected her.
Yeah, I don't understand. And it's so weird because it feels so sudden, because again, we don't necessarily know the time frame between Spider-Man 1 and 2. So you'd be tricked into thinking that this was immediate in between two movies.
Is it happens you could guess, all right, you see Peter in the new apartment, you're like, okay, some time has passed.
Yeah, you can take a guess, but even then it feels so sudden. That's pretty much everything with Mary Jane dating John Jameson, that it's all happening at once. And I don't think that I don't know how long they've officially been together, but I don't think that you can marry someone right off the bat while being pissed off on another guy and not think this is just to get back at someone.
Yeah, it's.
And
they made me hate her, and
oh my god, I felt so bad for John at the end, where he got left. He got left at the altar. Oh my, I don't.
But here, let's hit it. Let's hit it with a couple positives right off the gate.
Okay.
JJJ, fantastic,
obviously.
Beautiful. I love him. Aunt May, amazing. I love her. She's great. I love it.
I get a little okay. Well, here's the thing. I get a little mixed with Aunt May, towards the towards the part where he feels responsible for, where he confesses that he feels responsible for Uncle Ben's death. That's why I get a little bit mixed with her, especially their first talk after that encounter, because it feels a little rushed to kind of get over that conflict that she had with Peter. It was kind of the way the dialogue went about is oh yeah, May, about our last encounter, it's oh, it's over the bridge, or under the water under the bridge, or over the dam. And then she says how sorry she is, but then you get this very jarring thing where she said that she sold all of his comic books. I'm like, is she mad at him? Is she not? What's going on here?
So I have a little bit of a different take on that, because that interaction actually kind of reminds me a little bit of me and my grandma, which. So what I do like about it is that she's not able to instantly forgive him right after, because it just feels more human in the moment when he tells her, I think I might be responsible for Uncle Ben's death. I do like that she kind of is what? And needs a minute and walks away. And then I like it even more that she's not really holding the grudge, because it's kind of one of those things of okay, you're telling me a lot in this moment and I need to process it.
Right.
And we don't really need to see her processing it, because we could just see the result of that process.
Right.
Which it's a little bit of a mixed thing of all right, how much do we need to see in a movie versus how what can we infer afterwards? Is it really important that we take the time to focus on Aunt May processing it when her initial reaction and then afterwards could serve just as well?
Yeah,
And
I guess that's understandable enough. It just felt like kind of weird. I think the biggest thing that was like kind of jarring was like immediately after like she like accepts his accepts him back, is like, hey, well, all my comic books. Oh, I got rid of those things. That's the biggest thing. It you wouldn't think it'd be that big of an issue, but it kind of is for me because I don't know.
Peter realizing that Aunt May just sold his Batman comic that's worth like $200,000 for like 25 cents.
Yeah.
Like,
no, but it's like
what
such
did
a
you do?
weird thing. It's such a weird thing because you don't know if she's still mad at him and not, and it keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's weird. I'm being stupid. I'm being very dumb about it. It's not something I should be thinking a lot about because it's like a throwaway joke. But
we'll
still,
go back to something. We'll go to something that's more clear cut and dry. Of this is not good.
Yeah.
All right. The scene where he walks past the mugger.
Yeah. I forgot. Okay, I forgot that scene was there. I thought I knew that he was like obviously not going to be helping people because I remember him like eating the fucking hot dog as the cops drive by. I remember that. I did not. That gif is amazing, but I did not fucking remember that had the mugger scene where he walks past it. I completely forgot about it. It lost me.
All right,
and I hate it.
I have 2 issues with the scene.
Yeah.
So, and it goes into my larger overarching adaptation argument against the entire Raimi trilogy. But so, what I don't like about it is that this version of Peter Parker, his mission as Spider-Man, is built entirely off of guilt for Uncle Ben's death.
Right.
Like, it's a big plot point. Like, I have issues with that as an adaptation just because Spider-Man isn't just I feel guilty about Uncle Ben's death. It's also something that Peter likes and it makes him feel good as well to do it. So it's not just I'm guilty, I'm doing this because I have to atone. Yeah. I'm doing this because I also kind of like doing it.
Yeah.
And so while you could say, oh, this isn't accurate going through for the movies, they made the choice and they've stuck with it. And I think that's one of the storylines that works the most effectively in the movie is him saying, I can't keep this burden going. I can't do it for you, Uncle Ben. Your mission isn't my mission anymore.
Right.
I think that's a very effective moment. My problem is what comes after with not with him seeing the police and going away, because that's actually fine for me. I'm like going back to Amazing Spider-Man 52, which is the Spider-Man No More arc. Peter very much is like for his idea is different too, where in that story he genuinely believes, because it's a self-esteem thing, that J. Jonah Jameson is right about him and that he is a menace to society.
Right.
Like he believes it 100%. And so that's why, and he starts to go down a downward spiral of, did I just do this for the thrills? Do I even care about saving people? Because I've just been making things worse. My crime isn't down. Everything's still happening, all this. And so he throws the costume out and he goes, and we get a couple moments actually where like he's sitting by the radio, he's listening to the radio, and it comes up, news station, the X person is fighting downtown, but the Avengers are here, and they're like, the Avengers or Daredevil or whatever, they're here. And Peter is kind of like, yeah, they got it handled. The police have got this. They got this. And that's one of the things I'm fine with in the movie, is him, seeing the police go after the cops. That's fine. I'm okay with that. The bigger problem is because it also runs completely counter to this moment in Spider-Man No More. He sees a mugger in an alleyway.
Yep.
Mugging somebody, and
he doesn't just see him. He like stands there for a good like 30 seconds before turns around. He's quite literally staring at them.
Pretty much. He is basically the only one on this street, like There's some people walking past, but he's basically the only person on this street that notices this, and he just turns around, walks away. Yeah, we get a little moment of him going like, "Oh my god, am I gonna do this?" But then he still walks away.
Yeah,
That's my big problem. Is he
I don't
walks
know.
away, and I would have been like, I don't need him to directly get involved. I just need him to do something. Because this
Yeah,
Peter Parker's mission has been built on the guilt of letting one guy get away, and that one guy he let get away killed one of the most important people in his life.
right, and that's like what the movie's like stuck with throughout the first movie entirely, and that's literally the reason why he gave up on being Spider-Man, because he didn't believe that it was his mission to do that anymore. But seeing that,
When confronted
yeah,
with it, he
with that
just,
confronted
like,
with that same exact thing, that's like quite essentially the same exact problem, where he can just let one guy get away and can probably lead to somebody else's loved one get killed because of it. He just walks away. Like, okay,
Like, let me compare this for a moment, rather than to the comics, to another movie that everybody clowns on and says is really bad as a Spider-Man movie. In Far From Home, Peter is doing something similar, where he doesn't want to be Spider-Man because he wants a break from it all. Understandable, he just died and
yeah.
came back to life.
Okay, well, he technically doesn't know
Understandable.
he dies, but he did kind of watch like his
Yeah.
his
Well,
like
I mean,
surrogate
dude,
father die.
Well, there's that. He also had spider sense, so he sensed it before anyone else that he was
Okay.
gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
But so, like, regardless, big battle, mentor died. Everyone in the world has been like, "Yo, are you the new Avenger? Like, what's going on? You new Iron Man?" He's like, "I need a break." Okay, a break from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
His, on the contrary to what Toby's Spider-Man does, where he is the only person there that sees it, that could be like fighting against this mugger. He looks, he turns around, and he walks away. Versus Tom, who Hydro Man shows up, Mysterio's not here yet. His first instinct, despite not wanting to be Spider-Man anymore, there's nobody else around that could do this. His first instinct is, I'm gonna jump in and try and save people and fight this thing.
Right.
I'm
And
like,
yeah, that's like a good comparison, because that's like Far From Home doing what Spider-Man 2 didn't, is kind of showing how far the character has evolved, where when you see that again, it doesn't work anymore. Because you see that same situation in other Spider-Man movies, and you think that but Peter actually does do the helping. He actually does like be the only person who does the saving. And it's like I don't know why it doesn't work anymore. Like it may have worked at the time, doesn't work now.
yeah, it like, and the other thing too is like looking at it he does in Far From Home, where he sees a dude getting mugged and instantly, no suit, instantly jumps in to fight. And it's at that moment too, right after, where he realizes, like, himself, he's like, no, I do make a difference. I'm not the menace. I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
I can't let... By the way, this is also the first issue that actually brings up Uncle Ben at the end. In, like, the first 52... Like, after... The only other time we get a mention of Uncle Ben in the comics, after Amazing Fantasy 15, is in one of the very first few panels of the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man, and it's just a recap panel.
Yeah.
Where it's Peter going, man, ever since Uncle Ben died, I got this going on. I gotta figure out how to get a job or whatever. Like, that is the only mention we get of him in the first issue. And then, not for 52 issues later, do we get a significant mention of Uncle Ben.
Right.
As being part of Peter's motivations for being Spider-Man.
Right.
Like, that's just what bothers me in the movie, is the overemphasis on Uncle Ben, because Aunt May is more important because she's like that's my take, is that she's more important because she is alive afterwards. She is there to continuously interact with Peter and act as his morals.
Yeah, and like she's still like someone that Peter has to look after, and like it's weird because they don't really play into the part where Aunt May is important to protect, even though she got hurt in Spider-Man 1.
Yeah.
And
like
she also got captured in Spider-Man 2 before Peter took away the stop being Spider-Man, obviously. But the thing about it is that they don't play too hard into how Aunt May is important for Peter to protect, even though we see so many scenes of how Peter is trying to take care of her, like trying to help with her bills and everything. But they don't really. But after the suit is taken away, we don't really get any moment where Peter realizes that Aunt May is worth protecting, and that he doesn't need to do it out of guilt, but he needs to do it because he has people that he loves to protect.
Yeah, and the other thing that I don't like about it too is how much better Peter's life gets after he drops Spider-Man. Because that just, for me, that is a huge adaptation argument. But that is something that just goes right to the core of, for me, that makes me believe this writer didn't fully get Spider-Man. Because it like, there's so many moments, or at least they didn't get the comic they were adapting. Because in Spider-Man No More, he also gives up being Spider-Man because he believes his social life is kind of being ruined because he can't make it to these things that all of his friends keep inviting him to, which they try to do here in the movie. But the difference is that when he gives it up, he starts making it to everything, and everything gets better. Whereas in the comic, he gives it up, and not even Aunt May has time for him. Like, it's a huge wake-up call for Peter that, oh, everybody else in my life has their own lives that they're going on. Like, he goes to Gwen, and he tries to be like, hey, I can make it to that party now. And she's like, not really having a party right now. I'm kind of busy doing something else. And then he hits up Mary Jane and is like, so you want to do anything tonight? Like, what's going on? She's like, I got my own stuff, man. Sorry. And then even Aunt May, when he comes home, she's like, yeah, I'm going out to the theater with Anna Watson. Bye. And so Peter just kind of sits there in the house, just like, I'm bored as hell right now. Got nothing going on.
Yeah, and I think that does help play into saying that he just loves being Spider-Man because it's something that he enjoys to do. But yeah, it was a little weird seeing how his life started getting better and how, his grades started going up, and it almost tried to convince you that, maybe being Spider-Man
better.
was maybe just being Peter Parker was better.
Yeah,
and
because it just gives me that, like, I feel like the entire movie going through is just, like, at least until the end, like, actually, no, even in the end, because it's not even, like, a happy ending, really. Like, they end with Mary Jane, who leaves John Jameson at the altar, by the way, but whatever. They end with Mary Jane going to her apartment, that she knew where he lived, apparently, and so she gets and she's like, I'm with you, like, 100%, let's go. And then when she's, like, happy for a second, then the police scanner goes off, and he's like, oh, I gotta go save people. And she's like, hey, go get him, Tiger, let's go. And then they linger on her face afterwards, and she goes from happy to just like, oh, shit. And I'm like, hold on, that doesn't track. Like,
yeah.
Are you telling me that, like, this is bad? This is a bad ending? Because I don't get it.
Like, I don't know. And I don't... it feels such a rust... Like, it feels such a rust conclusion into him believing that he wants to be Spider-Man again. Because, okay, this is...
Well, and then they guilt him back. Like, it's basically guilt that brings him back into being Spider-Man. Because then there's the whole, oh, well, there's some poor soul on the 4th floor of this burning building didn't
Okay.
make it out in time.
Yeah,
And
that's
Peter's
what I was
like,
going to
"Oh,
talk
no."
about. That's what I was
I'm
going
like-
to talk about. Because that is that for the whole time, for ever since I rewatched that movie, I want to say like a year or so back, that has been my biggest complaint with the entire movie, and I think it ruins everything from then on out, because I think that if they wanted to go into being Spider-Man is what I love to do, which is essentially what they wanted to do by the end of the movie. They
I don't even
had
think it was they wanted to do that. I think they were just reinforcing the it's a burden I gotta carry because guilt, and I don't like that part.
yeah, I don't like that either, and it's like if
It's
they and I think that what worked for this Spider-Man for me is that unconditional responsibility that he had after Uncle Ben's death. Like I know there's always that guilt for Uncle Ben's death, but I think that unconditional heroism that Spider-Man has had at the from the start of the movie, where he needs to go to a pizza place but he stops kids from getting run over the street, or he needs to make to a show but he stops some crime going around, but so the movie tries to tell you he loves doing this. He loves helping people. He even jokes around with the kids, like no playing in the streets.
When he swings too,
yeah.
like he does the woohoo, like
Exactly.
when he swings, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And
So
then he gets out of the suit, and I'm like,
you
what
definitely
the fuck?
can tell that they want to reinforce the idea again after he quits being Spider-Man. I'm not just doing this because I feel guilty, but it's because I love doing it. And then you see
Didn't
this
go hard enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they torture themselves way too many times.
And you see this burning building scene where, like, he, with no suit, no powers, nothing, goes in to save that little girl. I'm really loving it. I'm like, okay, yeah, this would work for Peter coming back as Spider-Man, because it shows that unconditional heroism that he's always had for the past 2 movies.
Well, it would work if they cut that mugging scene.
Okay, besides that...
I'm sorry, I had to. I'm sorry. That scene just ruined so much.
It does.
Like...
It really does. But I think that, like, okay, fucking perfect world, that scene never happened. But, like, I see this burning building scene go down, I'm like, this is reinforcing the idea that he loves being Spider-Man, and that unconditional heroism is what's bringing him back as a hero. But then we get that fucking firefighter saying that someone died anyways, and he gets that
more guilt for Peter Parker?
He gets that guilt, so I'm like, this was not supposed to happen. It was not supposed to happen. He should have just come back as Spider-Man, and you think that it was the big inspirational scene with Aunt May where people claim it's one of the best scenes in any Spider-Man movie that brings him back as Spider-Man, and then he fucking falls on his ass.
Okay, I do kind of like that though. That is a good joke.
That's a good joke. That is a really good joke.
Yeah,
but
it's funny,
thinking outside of the joke itself, it doesn't work, because that should have if you really did not want the burning building scene to be the point where he becomes back Spider-Man, that should have 100% been that emotional breakthrough where he wants to be back as Spider-Man. And then it doesn't happen. And then I'm just like, I'm sitting here waiting, when's it gonna happen? And then it finally comes back when he saves them.
Well, no, it comes back when Ock takes her. And that's another one of my things.
It's weird. I don't get it.
Why are you tying the hero to a specific person? Which this goes against. This also goes to one of my other issues with the entire thing that I said we'd come back to. These movies have a weird fixation on every single villain.
They want to steal MJ. They want to steal Mary Jane.
Yeah, personal connection, and then we're gonna go after the love interest.
Every single movie steals Mary Jane.
And I'm
and that was the weirdest thing in Spider-Man 2 too. When I was rewatching it last night, I was thinking, okay, so Doc Ock's gonna steal Mary Jane after the train scene. Why? before
Mhm.
before train scene, I'm like, why? Why? I'm gonna think, okay, like this is to bait Spider-Man into.
Well, so it was to get Peter to
Oh yeah,
go
Peter
find
to
Spider-Man.
go find Spider-Man, take pictures. Right, I understand
Which,
that.
all right, fine.
But no, okay. But here's the thing: after the train scene, fucking Doc Ock brings Spider-Man back to Harry's apartment, where we get the whole reveal scene where it's Peter. But then it keeps going. It's like she has MJ. I'm like,
yeah, like why didn't he just let MJ go? Like
exactly.
right
Like
I don't understand why, because he
got Spider-Man. Why does he still have her? Why does he still have her?
I know. I'm like,
he still had her after accomplishing your mission. Like, you're done. You don't have to keep MJ anymore.
We're gonna hit this right now, though. I hate what they did to my girl by making her a damsel in distress, because that ain't what MJ is. MJ is the same girl that straight up beat Chameleon with a baseball bat because she knew he wasn't Peter. Like, this girl does not skimp in the face of danger. All right,
And
that is Gwen's job. Okay,
yeah.
that is Gwen's job in the comics. You take Gwen Stacy to a bridge, she's gonna die. You take Mary Jane to a bridge, she's gonna pull out a gun and shoot you, because that's exactly what she did.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but it's fucking weird how Doc Ock still has MJ at the end, because because he accomplished his mission.
Because stakes.
Because stakes. It's like at that point you're asking for Spider-Man to come beat your ass.
And to be fair, Kirsten Dunst does scream like a champ. Like,
yeah,
no one's better at screaming than she is. I ain't gonna lie.
To be fair, really Sam Raimi loves her screaming woman. That that's why Sam Raimi just loves screaming woman.
That's true. Evil Dead.
And in Spider-Man 2, there's a lot of screaming women in Spider-Man 2. It's like the funniest gag.
I think this is a good way to transition into some of the good, but you should timestamp.
We're being a little mean right now.
You shouldn't timestamp this. You got to let people go through all of our shit talking to get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
We threw them a bone with talking about JJ being the best part, because
and Harry. I liked Harry.
Yeah, Harry is definitely better. But so I will say that Spider-Man 2's highs are really, really high. Like, the bridge fight scene, standout. It's
the bridge?
Phenomenal.
Like the train? You mean the train?
Oh, sorry, the train fight scene.
Yeah, the train.
Yeah, the train fight scene, very, very good. It hits all of the right beats, and it's the right moment that we've been waiting for the whole time, where the entire city gets behind Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I'll say it right now, though, doesn't hold a candle to What's Up Danger.
Yeah, obviously.
Spider-Verse. But
100% doesn't.
Or actually, I this might be my hottest take of the stream, the podcast. I think the Homecoming lifting Grubble off himself scene is way better than this.
Oh no! You know, I can't say anything. I'm just going to either shake my head or nod, and you're not gonna know which one I'm doing.
Schrodinger's head movements. As far as I'm concerned, you're agreeing with me.
I'm not saying anything. I refuse to say anything. I'm going to call Saul Goodman.
Dude, don't you think I would need him to get me off of these canceling charges?
You know, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I think the train sequence works really well and hits that high of this is what the movie, this is what we've needed the whole movie, is people finally appreciating Peter because of how much shit he's just been handed.
Yeah, we kind of needed that. We needed some we things to to happen with Peter, because
even you said, there's ass beat 2 seconds later. It's still
we need some niceness, because there's too much misery porn in this movie.
Yeah. And yeah, so that works really good, or really well. The scene where Harry realizes it's Peter who's Spider-Man, very well done.
Yeah.
And then a lot of Otto before the accident, and then at the end where he gets his redemption. That is very well done.
Yeah,
Because like you get that setup of he's a wise man, he's mentoring, he's been able to get, he has both sides of his life, the scientific and then the personal life down. We feel really bad for him when his wife dies. Probably the most like gruesome death I've ever seen in a comic book movie. And, like all the glass just like right into her face.
I mean, most of it was off screen, but yeah.
Yeah,
like dude, in the movie.
As a kid, like I remember, like I would say that's like more gruesome than Cyborg getting his batteries pulled in Super Pets. Like,
oh dear God,
dude! I kid you. I watched that with my brother and my sister. There's a bunch of jokes in Super Pets that children just won't get. That an adult mind who is like, yo, this is kind of dark, is gonna go, did they just kill Cyborg? But I digress. That works. That scene where Ock's wife dies works really well, and then the ending where they talk and he fights against the tentacles and like regains his basically his control over them, and the I will not die a monster.
Yeah,
very very good, and it's almost worth the entire like shit stain I had to run through to get through it. And that's a little harsh. It's worth the part of the highway I had to drive on that goes through cow territory. It was worth the smell.
Yeah. And like the thing I will commend the movie is that the first act is really strong. I love the first, like I don't really have any problems with the first act at all, because it's a very slow and nice build up to like just how fucked up Peter's life is right now, trying to manage being Peter and Spider-Man. And I think it felt the right amount of misery porn, because it wasn't like overselling it, and you can tell that he's extremely tired of everything right now because he just can't keep up with everything. And I think up until he gives up by being Spider-Man is really, really good. Like I love like the highs of this movie are extremely high, but after he gets rid of the suit, it takes a very deep spiral downwards. Yeah. And I cannot forgive a lot of the decisions this movie made. And it's like there's not a whole lot of things wrong with it, but the things that are wrong with it are fucking unforgivable.
Yeah. Like I just can't with this. Like every time I see it, I understand. Like the thing is, I understand why people love it.
Yeah,
I really do.
There's a lot of reasons why people can love it, and yeah, I can understand. I can definitely get why a lot of people love it, because Peter's arc is really strong in the first act, and you know what? The ending is kind of alright. I like the ending. Well, not like the ending, not the ending.
Part, okay,
before the altar.
Yeah, the funniest part of the post Ock and Otto sacrifice, where the cops show up and Mary Jane gets John Jameson comes in and gets her, is when they're on the web and she's like, they're talking, can we ever be together or whatever? And Peter's like, Spider-Man will always have enemies. I'm like, motherfucker, you kill every single one of your enemies.
There's no more.
Who are you talking about? Like, every time they find out your identity, they die 2 seconds later.
This was fun. Like, it was the funniest thing too, because like during the telephone scene, after he couldn't pay for the payphone, he talked through the phone as if he was talking to him. They like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm Spider-Man, and I can't let you know because if my enemies found you out, it could put you in danger. I'm sitting here thinking,
Please.
Who? Are your enemies in the room with you right now, Peter Parker?
is your rogues gallery, sir?
But your rogues gallery doesn't exist right now.
Bruh.
Yeah.
That is probably my biggest issue with every one of the movies is that why I don't like when they go for the well, we can't be together because, you know, you're in danger, is because I know for a fact these villains ain't coming back in the movies.
Yeah.
Like that's why it just doesn't work on that level, and why you need to not kill the enemies, and why you need to not reveal Peter's identity to them, because
then they die.
It's basically like a death sentence, or
Yeah.
they're just never gonna show up again. Like
Right.
the thing with Vulture or at least worked about it, because he's no longer in the MCU. He's over in Morbius land.
Whatever universe that is in.
Yeah, like he was still around and he knew the identity, but he was still alive. He wasn't going to give it up because that's not who his character was.
Right.
And that made it really interesting, because then I had it like, you have it in the back of your head of like, he's still out there and this guy is an actual genuine threat.
Yeah.
That if we ever find out what his like breaking point is, basically Peter's identity is going out there.
Yeah.
And I think that Far From Home kind of takes the wind out of that sails, but they course correct pretty quickly with the spell, and so now we're just kind of back at, you know, okay,
yeah.
There's still that danger. I still have the idea, or like the sense, that if Peter's identity does come out in the MCU movies, they won't kill the villain, and they won't make it like a big thing. At least Peter won't know that they know.
Right.
And that's the big thing, is like the movies just because of how they're structured can't sustain a full-on Sinister Six, which is partially why I think they did the multiverse thing to get our Sinister Six in the movie. Because it just, building up that much in a movie to get all 6 of those villains for one movie ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Because like Tasm tried to do it at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2 with the dude walking through like the Oscorp facility that for some reason has all of these like WMDs just chilling, like and is like, let's get some other people that want to fight Spider-Man. And I'm like, but where the building?
I think those villains should team up to do some good.
Yeah, right. Like, it's weird, and then that's why TV format just works so much better, because no one has to find out his identity. The villains can break out of prison or escape Spider-Man because it's possible.
Yeah.
And there's always a sense of, all right, so when are these guys coming back? Because I know they're out there. Like,
right.
We gotta always be around. And then, like, I mean, dude, my favorite part actually of that show is how they managed to make the Green Goblin so personal. Like Green Goblin and Doc Ock and Tombstone so personal of villains without them ever discovering Peter's identity.
Yeah.
Like,
it's almost
insane.
like Spider-Man pisses off his villains so much,
and that's why they hate him. Like, man.
It's almost like that's Spider-Man's like whole fucking deal with villains, that he just pisses them off because Spider-Man's a dick to them.
And all right, I have another grievance with just the Raimi trilogy in general. This man's quips suck. He ain't got no style. I mean, like Andrew's quips definitely the best, but I mean even Tom has some good ones. I think unfortunately it's weird that his best ones are in like the team up movies.
Yeah.
Which sucks a little bit. I'm okay with him.
You have a metal arm, that's so cool.
God, dude, I love him in Civil War.
Yeah,
like,
him in Civil War is great.
He is the only reason I rewatched that movie, because well, and T'Challa. I really like T'Challa in that movie. Oh. I could give less than 2 shits about everything else going on in that. I'm just like, Spider-Man, I love you. I'm with. Oh, and Ant-Man, actually. Ant-Man's great. So yeah, like there's that, and then Infinity War. You know, the magic with a kick. I love it. Like.
But yeah, no, yeah, I was watching it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna expect full-on quippy Spider-Man in this before he gives up the suit, and it doesn't happen.
No,
The funniest part, the funniest people in the movie were the fucking extras. Whoa,
true, actually.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that dude sold that guy's, Spider-Man sold that guy's
He stole
pizza.
that guy's pizza. And go.
Like, the funniest part about this entire, like, the funniest characters in the movie were the extras. It wasn't even Spider-Man itself.
Well, hold up. J. Jonah Jameson is
Okay, and J. Jonah Jameson, obviously, but other than that, Spider-Man is just not that funny in the first act, and the extras just make it all the more better.
Yeah, like, it's just weird. It I'm gonna be honest. It also goes back to another adaptation argument. It's full of them here.
Is this like your biggest? Is this like your biggest one against the whole Raimi trilogy?
I would say it's one. Like, well, my biggest one is that Mary Jane is not Mary Jane in these movies. She is Betty Brant with red hair. Like, I kid you not. Her character is basically Betty Brant, but with red hair, which normally I'd be down because, just red hair in general. Yes. And I like Betty a lot more in the comics, but
this is supposed to be Mary
annoying.
Jane.
She gets very annoying in the comics.
Yeah.
And that's not what Mary Jane should ever be, because she's amazing. Yes, I'm simping, but worth it. Favorite character. So yeah, that's probably my biggest one, is how they did Mary Jane. But my second biggest one is Peter's overall character. Just as, like, he's a shy uber nerd that is just completely dorky the entire time and has, like, no semblance of cool.
Yeah.
Which, like, Peter pre-Spider-Bite, yeah, he didn't talk much, but that wasn't because he was, like, shy or socially awkward. Or didn't have any quips. Like, he had the quips all, like, way before. He just didn't have the confidence to actually say them out loud.
Right.
And that's what the Spider-Bite does, is it gives him that confidence to say to Flash, like, yo, bro, kill yourself. Like, when Flash starts going off on him. Like, and that's what makes makes Liz Allen in the original comics go, yo, Peter's kind of hot, though. Because he always was a good-looking dude. And okay, the thing I find weirdest is when people look at Andrew Garfield and go, he's too hot to be Spider-Man or Peter Parker. And I sit there going, wait, so Toby's ugly? Like, what? I don't get it. But maybe that's just me reading too far into it.
Yeah.
But he always was a good-looking dude. The thing was that he just had the social stigma of being a nerd and a loser in high school.
Right.
And that was the big thing, because, like, once he gets to college, Flash is the only one that's, like, trying to keep that status quo from high school, because he's the only one that came from high school with, as well as Peter.
Right.
And he succeeds a little bit in the beginning in turning Gwen and Harry against Peter. And then Peter and Gwen are lab partners, and she starts to go, oh, wait a second. Yeah, this guy's kind of cool. And then Harry takes just a little bit more time, but then he wins him over. And even Flash is like, oh, this guy's actually, like, I actually like him. And so it's just the social stigma he had. It wasn't because he was a super dork that, like, can't string two sentences together when his crush is in front of him. Peter in the comics, smooth as butterscream. I messed it up. I was gonna say it, but yeah, he's smooth. Like, this man has game.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. It's so bizarre, because then it also put up that weird perception that Peter and Spider-Man are two different people, essentially, where Peter Parker is a shy uber nerd that's socially awkward and is too good for this world, and then Spider-Man is the wisecracking swashbuckling hero that goes around. And it's like, there's no real difference between Peter and Spider-Man. It's
or unless you're the recent Spider-Man comics where Spider-Man is the nerd.
It's not even that he's the nerd. It's just that he gets. It's like, hey, I'm asking out the girl.
This is a grown ass man.
I'm asking out the girl who I've banged several times with and who is very clearly into me a lot. Like, we know we got the attraction, but I'm gonna be super nervous for some reason. I just don't get it. Even though I've never had a problem asking a girl out on a date before, I'm gonna have a problem with it now.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just, it puts, these movies put a lot of weird perceptions about Spider-Man, because the thing, though, is Peter is, like, the Karen to, to Miles, or Ben, who are the actual, like, nice guys, basically.
Yeah.
Like, Peter's a dick in the comics, and it's honestly hilarious how many of his issues that he has with other heroes or other villains are purely because he's antagonistic towards others because of his temper as well. Like, that's something that the Amazing Spider-Man movies did a lot better. Although I think they went a bit too far into the Ultimate Spider-Man, like, area of Peter being an asshole. 'Cause, dude, Ultimate Spider-Man Peter's just built different. Like, and they dial it up a bit too much, but he still has that temper and then that happy charm to him.
Right.
And I think that MCU split the difference pretty well, kind of like how Spectacular did, where he has the temper and it shows up, but it doesn't show up it doesn't really show up until it's needed, because it's not something that is really needed. We just need to see the temper flare
Right.
in a way that makes the most sense. Like, the times when Toby's temper flares, it doesn't at all in Spider-Man 2, really. But, like, in Spider-Man 3, that's when Spider-Man 3, I'm sorry for anyone listening, Spider-Man 3 is the movie where Toby's version of Peter feels the most like the comics. Like,
Honestly,
walking...
I don't think that really if anything, people love Spider-Man, like Peter Parker and Spider-Man 3. I think over time people have come to accept that Peter Parker and Spider-Man 3 was really good. Mm-hmm. And that was probably like the legitimately only good thing about that movie. That's fun as hell.
Dude, the strut. Oh god. The dance as he's going down the street. It's just beautiful. Like, the other thing too is, like, Peter didn't take shit in the comics, like, even from his friends, if they, like, because that's the other thing, is they don't really give him that much shit in the comics, at least as it got closer to the college era. Like, Betty would, like, that was kind of the points where Betty would get the most annoying, was when she would give Peter shit, for, like, oh, why weren't you here, or whatever, because it's like, well, Betty, you work with him, you know what his job is. And so, like, in those college eras, they pretty much, like, when Peter goes off, they're like, oh yeah, he's just doing his job. Like, this is what he's got to do.
Right.
And, like, they'll only really get mad. Like, the only times Mary Jane really got mad was when Peter invited her to a place and then would leave her, like, in the middle of the thing he invited her to. And so, like, that, even though, you know, she knows about his, that he was Spider-Man, in the comics, even though she knows that, it's still, like, that's the most understandable thing of, like, oh, well, you invited me out to this thing and then you're just not going to spend any time with me? Right. All right. Like, and so, like, in the comics, Peter just doesn't take shit. So when Harry slapped him in the movie, if he did that in the comics, Peter would have thrown his ass into a wall. Like
Peter was not taking his shit.
He does not. The only reason he doesn't, like, destroy JJ is because JJ signs his checks.
Yeah. I think that my final thing that I don't like about Spider-Man 2 is that Doc Ock and Peter's, like, Octavius and Peter's relationship was a little lost.
A little bit. It's much better. It's much better done in PS4.
Yeah, and it's hard to do that, to build off of Octavius and Peter's relationship when they're given so little time to, and
Yeah.
so I'm like in that weird in between where I can understand why they didn't spend enough time building the relationship, but at the same time, when Octavius's change and realization back into sacrifice self is solely dependent on Peter's relationship with him, you need to spend like at least an extra scene or two. Like maybe he's I don't really know.
Like,
Like
give us just one more scene before things go to hell of them just like interacting over science or something else that they have in common where you could just sit there and go, man, this is really nice.
yeah,
Like,
I think that would be better, and that conversation they had was really good. But for Doc Ock to really convert back into Octavius and go with the whole sacrificing thing, they needed to do a little bit more. Like just like you said, an extra scene would be fine. And it's a little weird.
thinking about it now, I think all they like, I don't even think we needed an extra scene. I think what could have sold us even more is if in that initial scene where they're talking about, what the project Otto's doing, in that scene, if they had like Peter suggest something to Otto, and then Otto that would like fix or solve a potential problem he was having, and then in the presentation where Otto brings up, oh yeah, this was our original concern or whatever, but Peter Parker, there you are, hey, come on up, like basically give him credit for figuring out whatever thing he had, and then after that scene is where things go to hell. That would make that like even more tragic because he just gave him praise. He just like after they bonded, and then now they're fighting. And like
Spider-Man 2 is weird. Like I think my overall final thoughts is that the good stuff is really good, and there's not really too many like there's not a large amount of things wrong with it, but those things wrong with it are really, really wrong.
Yeah,
and
stinkers.
And I think it just does not age well today. Before the home trilogy before the home trilogy, you can make arguments as to why like Spider-Man would just ignore a mugging or feel guilt or go back to being Spider-Man purely out of guilt. And I think there's arguments for that before the home trilogy, but
even if you were someone who hadn't read the comics really and like didn't know everything about it, then you also probably would be like, all right, this like I could justify this, and I can understand how you can.
Yeah, but like as much as people shit on the MCU Spider-Man for it, the MCU Spider-Man shows just how far the character has evolved when it comes to his actions and the concepts that it wants to tackle with him struggling to be Spider-Man, and how at this point of the character's time, he wouldn't stare at a mugging and walk the other way when he's the only person that knows about it. It's too much of a character regression.
You can say that, like you could say in Far From Home, oh well, Peter's just actively avoiding responsibility because there's a world-ending threat coming and he doesn't want to save it. But on the other side of things, he already says, this is a cosmic threat. I am not equipped to do this. There are other heroes that are way better. Like, what am I even going to be able to do against an elemental monster? Because we also just saw with the water elemental, he shot webs at it, it went straight through.
Yeah.
The best he could do was just, like, protect people in the crossfire.
Yeah.
And so, for that kind of stuff, that's, like, I understand why he just didn't want to be there, because compounding all the rest of the issues he had of, dying, coming back to life, his mentor dying, fighting in a battle, all of this continuous pressure, like, and yet his first instinct when he doesn't have time to think, because that's the other thing that, like, I feel people aren't too giving on, is this man had some time for all of his doubts to get in his head and affect him, whereas in the moment it's literally sink or swim. And he's gonna swim. And that is what I really like in that movie, is just how much better it handles the No More storyline. It's not a one for one. It's not trying to emulate any comic panels, which I will say, seeing that shot of the suit in the trash, very well done. And also J. Jonah Jameson in the extended version, whipping about in the spider suit.
That was probably like the only good thing to come out of that
good.
extended version.
So good. It's so fun for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it just goes to show that you don't need a one for one of the comics for an adaptation to be good.
Right.
It just needs to retain the spirit and the themes of those original works.
Right.
And that's what just works so well. And why, I feel like the Raimi trilogy just wasn't for me until the third one came, where I got a Peter Parker and a Spider-Man story that felt more like the comics. Like,
right. Yeah, but I mean, overall, I can understand why people like it. Like, there's a lot of reasons to like it, but I'm just tired. I'm so tired of people still saying that it's either the best Spider-Man movie, it's either the best comic book movie, or either it's the best superhero movie.
Yeah.
Which, at this point, post Batman into Spiderverse, Logan, and everything else, and et cetera, that is just not fucking true. That's just wrong.
Like, I am not going to knock anyone for nostalgia goggles for this.
Yeah.
Because we all have something.
Obviously.
Like, we all have something that is nostalgia goggles. We can say, like, there can be things where we say, hey, I don't have nostalgia goggles for this anymore. I see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Deep down, there's still something in everyone that's like, I still really love this thing that I saw as a kid. And, like, we all have it. For me, it's Jak and Daxter. I know those games have issues, and I know the second game has issues. Still love it for what it is, and because I kind of love those games. Like,
and like that's a weird thing with like when I see stuff about Spider-Man 2, because if you love the movie, fucking love the movie, go off, whatever. I don't I'm not gonna be fucking EAP where I fucking think you're a consumer for like a Marvel movie or a single fight scene. But like, the main issue I have with the people who outright say that this is like the best superhero movie ever made is that they will defend that movie hard and not take into account that they are just nostalgic for it. Like, if you're nostalgic for it, that is completely fine. But if you're trying to say that this is legitimately a better film than etc., like the Batman or Into Spider-Verse, then you're 100% just being nostalgic about it, because that's just not true anymore.
Yeah, it's like the worst part is just when they come after you as the person, when they just run out of arguments, because that happened. Like, there was like a span of probably like a month or two where I was fighting for my life on Twitter against people for this game. And like about halfway through, when my arguments started to make sense, at least I'm assuming, I'm assuming, or they just ran out of stuff, or they just didn't care and just decided this guy's coming after what I like, him.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I kind of understand that stance too. And they just decided to like look up at my profile and like, oh, well, you like this and you like this, you're an MCU shill or whatever. I'm like, what is that?
Dumb.
Like, I like the other movies. Like what?
Yeah, I don't
Why?
understand it, but don't don't be like EAP where you shit on people for just liking something. Like if you enjoy Spider-Man 2, cool. I enjoy Spider-Man 2 for the most part. There's a there's a timestamp in the movie where I stop loving it for what I used to like it at the start of the movie, and it's just not good for me anymore. But I can still appreciate the people who love it throughout all of it, because there are still a lot of likable things in the movie even past the things where I stop liking it for one reason or another. And but like I've said, the main issue is that the people who will defend the movie hard and claim that they are 100% not nostalgic about it.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that a lot of times, and I'm like, look, you can be nostalgic about it. That's complete. I'm not gonna like shit on you for being nostalgic about it, but don't say this is like one of the best superhero movies, or even in some cases one of the best movies ever made, and say you're not nostalgic about it, because that's just not true.
Yeah. That being said, Spectacular Spider-Man is absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with it.
God damn it! God damn it! You ruined my whole emotional arc.
I'm sorry. I was a poorly timed MCU joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
You have one of those he's standing right behind me jokes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
God. But anyway, I think that pretty much wraps up everything. Overall, what are your final thoughts on Spider-Man 2?
My overall thoughts on Spider-Man 2 is 0 out of 10. They made me hate Mary Jane. Never mind. I recognize, where it works, and where it works for me too. A lot. I really like. Bruce Campbell is showing up. Obviously,
love
perfect. J. Jonah Jameson, Aunt May. I really like them. Otto, I really like. It's just most of my issues with this movie just come from all the perceptions it's set for, like, a Spider-Man movie, and
right?
Spider-Man as a character.
Like it tried to set a standard for Spider-Man that just wasn't like the actual, like what Spider-Man actually was.
Yeah, and like it's just that thing of going back to it. It's a weird thing of setting rules for what a Spider-Man story should be, and rules in writing don't really work, because when you have these set rules of stuff you need to do in order for something to be considered a good story, you're going to end up with stories that don't challenge anything, that are basically the same and don't try anything new. And it's when you come to those moments where you're like, we're trying something new with a purpose and not just because I want to do something new to stand out.
Right.
Like, and that is the thing that I think kind of hurts a lot of movies coming out, is just, we want to try something new because it's never been done before, and that's the only reason. Like, we wanted something new, and it's because that we're like, this is what we need to be. It's because the fans pretty much are like, this is what needs to be there for it to be a good Spider-Man story. Because I don't think, because the movie didn't set this. Like, the movie didn't set those rules. The movie just tried it. People liked it and said, this is it. And then when the TASM came out and did something that wasn't what the Raimi movies did, everyone went, this is terrible. How dare they?
Yeah.
Those movies have their own issues, but not conforming to what everyone thinks is a good Spider-Man story, or what the rules for a Spider-Man's, like, villain or story are, isn't the reason why the movie's bad. Like, but
right.
So
rules in writing are kind of how the MCU gets shit on.
Well, yeah, and I think they also, I think that it's most prevalent with Phase 4 stuff in general. There's a specific formula, which is basically another way to say rules for writing, where there's a formula that they stick to. You can always like a Spider-Man or not Spider-Man. Most Marvel movies start with like a cold open on the villain, and what they're doing, and you can see this going all the way back to like Captain America, the
Right.
first Avenger. Like
Right.
it straight up, it starts with Red Skull doing his thing, and then that formula gets adopted throughout the other movies later on when things were okay. We're getting a stride. This is the one that like did the most, so we're gonna try this again. And then that's kind of what we got in like we also kind of got it in Homecoming. The only difference is that Homecoming's villain is really really good, and the movie itself it works very well in that formula. And there were other things going on that changed it up, like Guardians 1 kind of subverts this formula to a T in like the best way possible when we get that opening scene at Quill's mother's, where in the hospital.
Yeah.
And you could think it's a villain origin story, and then it cuts to him, like he gets beamed up. We go, next scene is him next scene I'm pretty sure is him going to Morag
Yeah.
to go get
He's going to
the
Morag
stone,
to get the
and
stone.
he just starts dancing.
It breaks the formula so hard, and that's probably why it's one of the better MCU movies.
And like, I mean, same thing with Guardians 2. We don't get any scene at the beginning with them. The opening scene, we don't even see the fight. It's just following Baby Groot around as he's dancing and vibing in the middle of a battlefield.
It's so fun. It's so fun. But anyways, I think that pretty much wraps up this podcast. This was a long one, but I think we needed to get this out because Spider-Man 2 is overrated, if anything. I give this movie a 7 out of 10, and people think I fucking hate it. But I don't. I just think it's not as good as what people say it is. Christ.
Hey, like a movie that, convinces a lot of people it's really good.
Right.
This podcast, we nailed it in the third act. So,
Yeah, we had a very strong third act.
We brought it back,
Yeah,
I don't know how the beginning started, but we had some issues, some technical difficulties.
We don't talk about that. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much all for this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed, and please, for the love of God, don't cancel us. Always be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know if I have future content releases.
Oh shit! You took the hierarchy back.
Yeah, I took the hierarchy back, so I had to take your privileges after. You definitely hit the streaming button and not me. It was definitely you, not me. I did not do that. He was in charge of the channel. That was his fault.
I don't know what he's talking about. He's in charge now.
I'm taking your privileges away. Anyways, bye.